Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I release a Legacy video every Friday. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by joining the Patreon. Here you can gain access to continuously updated documents like a sideboard guide, a primer on Legacy Doomsday, and gain access to the Neville Shoot Discord server. So come join the community at patreon.com/NevilleShootMTG. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the video. Hello everyone, Martin here, back with another Legacy video, and today is a bit of a special day because I have got Michael Reed, aka Eureka224422. Most of you, I am sure, have run across Michael or listened to his great podcast, Legacy Small Talk. And Michael and I have several things in common, least of which is casting dark rituals. So, Michael, welcome to the channel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's awesome to be here. I have been casting Dark Ritual for a really long time. Ant back in the day with you, and then more recently Doomsday. And I watch your channel a lot, and it's awesome to be able to do a collab with you.
Awesome. Yeah. So, what we thought we would do today is to showcase the Dimir Tempo Doomsday deck that you and I have both recently really been having a great time with. And so what we're going to do is I am going to first play two decks versus Michael, where Michael is on Dimir Tempo Doomsday. The first deck is the one you see before you. It is blue-red Tempo with Quarry Steel Cutters and Delver of Secrets and the whole shebang. And so we're gonna see how that plays versus the Dimir Tempo Doomsday deck. The next one we have. All right, just realized my audio wasn't set up, so I do apologize about that. So nothing has happened yet. Michael has he won the die roll. He's on Dimir Tempo. He played a surveil land or a fetch land, and I did the same. So here we go. And Michael surveilled the land to the top, or the card to the top, rather. Here's a brainstorm. Okay. Okay, no further game action here. Let's get a surveil action going as well. I think we take the Delver of Secrets here, try and get the beats on. And why don't we play a fetch land as well, just so we're able to get a little value out of the Delver flip in case we don't like what we see. Alright, this is Doomsday mana. That is Doomsday. Well, let's Force of Will here. And there is a Force of Will back, pitching Force of Will. Okay. So Michael will drop to 8. Delver could potentially bring it down to 5 and then bolt down to 2. So if we're able to ponder looking for another bolt here, that's pretty interesting. Alright, that was a very quick pile. I have concerns. And Michael knows I don't have daze, or I would have dazed rather than forced. Yeah. Here comes Edge of Autumn. God damn. Alright. I have no response to that. This is Lotus Petal, and then Brainstorm. Yeah. We have no way to beat this. LED, and then Street Wraith into the Consider. 6 life. That's 3 too many. There is Thassa's Oracle. Okay. I will Lightning Bolt my own Delver. Alright, GG's. Alright, so sideboarding wise, we know that what's coming includes Barrowgoyf, so we want both of these on Holy Heat. I think we have to bring in Consign to Memory just as a concession, really, that if he does decide to keep Doomsday. Pyroblasts, maybe. Price of Progress, maybe. A Braid, Null Rod we don't want. And what am I shaving here? I think I'm going to shave a Force of Negation. I mean, this wouldn't really work if I didn't know what I was up against. Like, I wouldn't be shaving Force of Negation versus Doomsday normally, but I think maybe that is something you have to consider. Quarry Steel Cutter is pretty good, but it's also can be a little wonky. I don't think we can afford to bring in Price of Progress. There's not enough that I want to board out. And I don't have enough faith to like board out a Force of Will. Maybe crazy as it sounds, we're supposed to board out a couple of Lightning Bolts now that we have the Unholy Heat. Maybe only one Pyroblast. Maybe not. No Consign Memory. And I'll shave a Bauble. Yeah, let's try this. All right, in case you, for those of you really keeping track here, so we're playing in the free to play, and Michael challenged me, but we both missed that it was a best of one. So when he just won game one here, we had to jump out and start a new match, best of three, and then Michael conceded game one, and then he just chose to be on the draw for it to sort of align here. So I did lose game one. This is effectively game two, and I'm gonna keep. And Michael takes a mulligan. All right, let's pass the turn. Michael plays a fetch land as well. Now Michael does play Wasteland, so we could get like screwed here, but I do think I want to surveil here. Oof. I think I take this and I play Quarry Steel Cutter. I mean, it plays into a daze. There are a couple of ways we get punished here, but I think maybe it's okay. Okay, that's in. And Michael has a Wasteland. Gross. Dark Ritual. Okay. At least Michael can't daze here. So I'm gonna pitch Murktide to this Force of Will. And pass. Or rather, he passes. And now we're just staring at each other. There's Lotus Petal and a Brainstorm. How do we feel about that? I think we let that happen. And he does find the second land. Now Daze is live. And Ponder. Okay. So yeah, how about a land deck? That was good. And I will get basic island here. And I will cast Ponder because Ponder might find one of our 3 Mishra's Baubles. Though it doesn't. Damn, I'm gonna shuffle. There were good cards, all those, but yeah. Smells like a Murktide. And I will pitch Daze here. Okay, Murktide is gone. Lightning Bolt, huh? Alright, I'm gonna cast Brainstorm. Hope to find a second land. Or a third land, I guess. His last cards better not be Dark Ritual, Orcish Bowmasters. Okay. So let's put away Mishra's Bauble, I guess. And Lightning Bolt. This Daze might still do some work versus like a Barrowgoyf, if that's the play next turn, and there are no more lands. Alright, here's a Delver, there's a Quarry Steel Cutter. Oh, what am I even saying? I have a Wasteland. Just sitting there. Look at it, it's just sitting there, making my days better. Oh no. Okay. Just 2 Wastelands, having fun. Okay, I think I am going to daze this Petty Theft. Alright, so we get to keep our Monk. Now we want to see Delver flip. But we don't. And now, I play out the land here. It gives Michael perfect information, but it's worth it to be able to fetch with the Delver trigger. And, like, we are running out of time in a sense. The second Michael resolves Barrowgoyf, we are under so much pressure. And he does not shuffle. We have no more Surveil lands, so... Oh, God. That's not a spell. But a land. And another land. Yikes. Okay. Seeing as there were no shuffle, I do expect something bad to happen to us next turn. We don't even have Delirium in case we find... what's its face? Okay. We get a Surveil. Yeah, in case we find Unholy Heat. Put a card on top of their library. Frightening. Okay, it's another Murktide, it would appear. No. Oh, battle at the... Oh, it's Fatal Push. Well, now we do have Delirium. Okay, here's Murktide. We need to find Pyroblast. Did I board those in? I boarded one in. That's not it. Alright, well, this could still... We could still do stuff here. I am going to play out my land here. Playing around soft permission might be, like, end up being a thing. And Michael's drawing blind here. Hopefully nothing too scary. Is he going to try to race me? It is a little bit risky, but he might have something to play. And also, what else is he doing here? It's a pretty fast clock. Oh, yikes. Okay. Unholy Heat for the win? I guess we pass here and give ourselves one more turn to find a Pyroblast. Oh, that's not what we're doing. Come on, Pyroblast, Brainstorm, something. That is something. This does kill the Murktide. It also makes a friend here. And I will play out this Volk here. Did he bring in Force Negation? No. Okay. So we'll pass. I will chump block here. He's going to gain the life. And also, I'm dead if I don't. But yeah, even if I weren't dead, I would chump block here to not give him the trigger. Okay, there's a Wasteland. We lose a land. Come on with a spell. That's a good spell. Don't have Bowmasters. Yeah. This is pretty good. I would like all of these. If he has a Daze here, it's so bad. But I will play the Murktide and make it big enough to eat the... or trade with the Barrowgoyf. He has no instants and no sorceries. Maybe I'm not supposed to empty out so much there. I think I do attack here at the risk of Michael finding a removal spell for Murktide. I wouldn't expect him to play very many. He basically has to offer this. And we get the turn. We get a Wasteland. Let's Wasteland that and attack. Petal. Please don't have another Barrowgoyf. Dothy. Okay, that's just as bad. That's even worse, actually. Yeah, alright. GG's. Alright, so this is my Omnitel deck. And there is Michael's challenge. I need to swap decks. Yeah, just quickly, this is my Omnitel deck. I think this matchup is probably like somewhere around even, but maybe with Dimir Tempo, Doomsday being a bit ahead. But we shall see. Alright, we have lost the die roll here. I don't think I'm supposed to keep 5 lands and no Brainstorm, so I'm going to mulligan. I'll keep this. And let's get rid of the Hedge Maze. And Michael is on 7. Veil of Summer would be a lot better on the play, obviously. Uh-oh. Really? No! Well, we're going to force... and it worked. Wow. Close one. Alright, let's pass. With Veil of Summer, the mighty Veil of Summer open. Oh, come on. Really? Gross. I have nothing here. I can't Veil into... I'm not playing Daze. So, yeah. I see no lines that I'm in, so this is a pass the turn pile. I suppose there's a tiny chance that we can do something here, but I don't expect us to be successful in that. Suppose it starts with a show and tell. But even that, like, if we get another turn, Michael could just align things so that he can cycle through and get to Thassa and then put her in off of show and tell. Okay. Michael's playing 2 Street Wraith. That's interesting. I'm only playing 1 in my tempo deck. Is there anything I can veil into? I don't think so. Like, well, I mean I guess that would have been it if I'd had some more mana. All right. GG's. All right. We want the Carpet of Flowers. We want the Mysterized Village. We want Flusterstorm, and we want Consign to Memory. I think I'm okay leaving Force of Negation in the sideboard. I guess Dress Down is nice too. And okay, so what can we cut here? Let's cut the Sink into Stupor. Let's cut the Dream Halls. Maybe we're actually supposed to cut the Cunning Wish plan. In that case, maybe we do want the Force of Negation. That way we can cut the Impulse as well then. Okay, this is too many things, so let's go ahead and cut, I guess, a basic island and a Lotus Petal now that we're bringing in carpets. Okay, let's try this. Yeah, this seems pretty good. I don't want to lead on Forest. I think that's giving things a bit too much away. Ponder doesn't shuffle. I don't want to surveil here because I do want basics. Another show and tell. Let's cast a ponder. Well, I think unfortunately I have to shuffle these because they're not like advancing us towards the third land. The omniscience would be nice to have, but also not like really getting us there. Tropical Island is okay. Here's a brainstorm. Okay. And a pass. Wow, no land. 7 cards in hand. Okay, never mind. Here's something. Cycling a Street Wraith. Okay. Dark Ritual. Okay. Doomsday. Force of Willy. Force of Will back. Let's hope they don't have a daze here. Okay. So that's good. And we get Carpet of Flowers. Nice. Okay, let's carpet off of Trop in case, like, if I tap Forest and then Michael Wastelands me next turn, then that's a little bit annoying. And I think I will just pass for now. I don't think I want to fire off this Brainstorm until next turn. And there is a Wasteland. Is this Murktide? Old Murky Murk. Yep, full 8. Yeah, we get Wastelanded. Alright, let's crack this for blue and cast Brainstorm. Alright, let's put back Dress Down and I guess the Scalding Tarn. It kind of sucks because we're going to be looking at the same like two of the 5 cards we'll be looking at are stuff we don't want. Let's grab Ponder and Ponder, I guess. And we will cast a Ponder and shuffle. Alright, pass. We are on a 2-turn clock here, so this Ponder has to deliver. Alright, let's say name blue here. And cast Ponder. And there is Atraxa. So that's good. I like Atraxa. I don't think it matters dropping to 6 here. Oh shit, could I just have cast her? Not quite, right? Here comes Force of Negation. 1 card in hand, so this Veil is going to be good. Alright, let's put in Atraxa. And nothing else gets put in from Michael, and we get a trigger here. Okay, Force of Will or Flusterstorm is the instant. I guess it's Force of Will. Get another Atraxa. Let's get Stock Up. And Windswept Heath. Done. And I'll pass. Yeah, alright. So it's off to game number 3. Just because we saw the Murktide there, it doesn't mean that Michael is off Doomsday, which we also saw, so we know that. Yeah, let's just resubmit, actually. Can I keep this? I think I can. The 2 cantrips makes it somewhat enticable here. Or enticing. Tameo, okay. I think I just start off with Ponder. Force of Will, Show and Tell, Lotus Petal. These are all amazing. And I want to draw the Show and Tell last, I think. Michael Mulligan to 6, by the way. Okay, Street Wraith. That means we can flip the Tameo now. Off of the clue. Tameo is flippity flopped. And I think I will just pass here. Maybe I'll play out the pedal. Alright, let's pass. We plus Tameo. Alright, Michael passes. I think I'm going to brainstorm here. I don't really mind if there's a Bowmasters. In fact, I would welcome some mana to be spent here. Okay, if that didn't happen, we do find second Force of Will. So let's see here. We draw the land. We force pitch Brainstorm, force pitch Atraxa. So we need Omniscience. So basically, we basically need everything here. So we can't exactly do that. Well, maybe not. Maybe just resolving Emrakul is also going to be good enough. So that would be force pitching Atraxa, force pitching Brainstorm, put in Omniscience, put in Show and Tell, but no. Then we can't play around the days. Do we really wait one more turn here? The worry is that we'll get like Thoughtseize minus Thoughtseize. Alright, well, let's put back Emrakul and Show and Tell. I want to wait one more turn here. That's my plan now. Alright, so we draw Show and Tell, we play our land, and we pass. We get a Surveil happening for Michael. We get a plussing of the Tameo and a Wasteland. And I actually don't want Wasteland to happen here, so I'm going to take my draw step. Okay, sweet. Well, let's see if he has my 2 forces beat here. Daze is not going to do it. I think I should have gotten a basic island there, since I am fetching basic forest. But hopefully it won't matter. I'm getting the drop. Worried about Flusterstorm here. That would be quite the pounding. This is Force of Negation by the looks of it. Force of Will, pitch Atraxa. Oh, I pitched the Brainstorm. I clicked it already. Force of Will from Michael, pitching Force of Will. I'll force back, pitching Atraxa. Alright, we're in. Here's Omniscience. And here's Emrakul. I mean, if he has Consigned to Memory, yeah, okay, he didn't. But that would be a thing. Consigned to Memory, draw half your deck, win with a Show and Tell. Alright, cool. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to play Debir Tempo Doomsday, and Michael is going to play Blue-Black Cloudpost. Alright, I win the die roll, so that's nice. And yeah, let's keep this hand a little bit on the slow side, but I think that's okay. Alright, I'm going to ponder here. We have the days to ensure that nothing, like the most egregious things we can probably stop. And yeah, Force of Will and then Tameo, and then we can flip Tameo like right away if we feel like it. Seems pretty good. Urza's Tower of Power. Alright, let's cast Tameo. And let's flip her. Michael forces. Okay, I'm not gonna force back. I think I have to save my force for something more scary. This is Kozilek's command for 2. I'm gonna daze that. I would love to find a wasteland here. Alright, well, let's attack with Tameo. Get a clue, and then we try the brainstorm thing again. Okay, no wasteland, but we do get some good cards here. Tameo flips, flippity floops. I think I will fetch and ponder. There is everything we need. All right, so I am actually going to draw and cast Thoughtseize right now. Kozilek's Command and 3 lands. So the mana is all there. They just need. Well, it's good that the Planar Nexus is what is enabling all these other lands. So the Wasteland is going to be good here. All right, and we pass. Okay, second Cloud Post was a good draw. And I am going to draw off my clue. Basically, we have to survive one turn where they don't. I think it's Ugin. I'm going to cast Brainstorm here. Look for another Wasteland. We don't find it, but now we have double force. It seems like the place to be with a Tamiyo that's about to go ultimate. Alright, pass turn. Alright, they didn't find a way to stop the Tamiyo. That is sometimes how it goes. Okay, so for the sideboard, well, the Consigned to Memory seems good. The Long Goodbye, maybe. Like, a long Goodbye is a way to... Nah, maybe not. Like, it's more when you have Jace's win condition, it's nice to be able to kill the Tishana's Tidebinder. Well, let's start with the things we know we want. I don't think Bowmasters is very good, I have to say. Brazen Borrower, probably not. I know there are the One Ring deck, but like I've said this multiple times, like beating the One Ring with the Bowmasters seems a little bit like wishful thinking. I think Murktide is probably a fine card. Maybe we take out Unearth because we no longer have Bowmasters. We only have the 2 Barrogoyfs, and their stuff that kills our creatures exiles them. The Kozilek's Command. So if Tamiyo gets exiled. Oof. Wow, this is almost amazing, but I think we have to mulligan. They mulligan. Do we get super greedy here? No, we're going to mulligan. Okay. This works. Still has a Wasteland, which I'm happy about, and then we just get rid of 1 Dark Ritual. Yeah, this is a good hand. Cloud Post. Okay. So they can play... Yeah. They can play turn 2 Planar Nexus and then a 4-drop. And I want to kill the Nexus with the Wasteland if that's the case. We do have Force of Will, so we do have the luxury of allowing like one thing to happen here, especially drawing Thoughtseize. We can get rid of whatever is the most scary thing they force. Why would you care so much about that? I guess I force back. Chalice of the Void and Kozilek's Command. I think I just take the Kozilek's Command. I let them Chalice of the Void. And then, like, yeah, we can still play the Dark Ritual into the graveyard. And once we hit a second blue source, we... once we hit a second blue source, we get to do play the Murktide, I mean. Okay, here's Wasteland. Alright, I am going to play the Dark Ritual into the Void here. Land? No. Okay, but this is still fine. As soon as we hit the land, we're there, and in the meantime, we drew another blue card for force. Oh, come on, deck. Disruptor Flute. Come on, what are you playing at? I know what you're going to name, because you just saw me play the Dark Ritual into the Chalice. Okay, how about the Singleton Lotus Petal? You know what, I am going to play out this Flooded Strand. Lets them know what's coming, but it also gives me Surveil, so... we can get rid of the 3rd land. Draw a land anyways. Gonna exile my Wasteland, just in case he has Extirpate or some nonsense, which I don't believe he does. Alright, here we go. Barrogoyf or Wasteland, my best draws here. Hey, ask and you shall be Barrogoyfed. Okay, so now there's a lot of mana, but is it enough? I am bringing 11 damage here, and you're on 12. All right. I think that does it. Wait, we miss on the barrel boy flip, but that's okay. All right, that was like quick and dirty, man. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into a voice call with Michael. This is his hand. Wow. I guess he just drew the force of will. Yep. All right, Michael. Thanks so much for the matches. It was pretty awesome. I guess a 2-1 win for the Demir Tempo deck, if we can put it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we can just touch on each of the matches real quick. I was a little disheartened on behalf of the blue red tempo community for that first match. That was honestly didn't really feel very close.
Yeah. I think that the last game was like relatively close. You had a chance of finding Murktide, and then you found Murktide, and I found Dothy to kind of close the game out. But I think besides that, it didn't feel extremely close. Yeah, I think that uh, if you didn't see 2+2 is 5, who played a lot of Blue Black Reanimator,
Mm,
picked up that deck cold and played in a like 200-person tournament, and they went 5-0 against Blue Red Delver in the Japanese tournament.
damn, yeah. I mean that has been my feeling from the get-go. I would say that even the Turbo Doomsday deck, if you have 4 Barrowgoyfs in your sideboard, then you're sort of halfway there. You might need to get get a bit lucky, or at least play well and get the rub of the green for game one. But if you win game one, I would take the like a win in one of the two post board games if I had like 4 Barrowgoyfs, a couple of Murktides, some removal spells, because I don't know, like Barrowgoyf just seems so incredibly good in that matchup. And I think like you can look at it like it ended up being the Dothy that got you there, and that was like if you had played a second Barrowgoyf there, I could have like chumped at least for like an extra turn or something. But I think it was the first Barrowgoyf that did the majority of the damage, where I ended up having to throw so much in front of it, and you just pull so far ahead in life totals. But yeah, I think I think it's a very good matchup, which is weird to say because like Izzet Tempo has always been a really hard nut to crack for Doomsday. I feel.
Yeah, I think that the other thing though is to your point, it takes off a lot of the pressure of having to win game one. That's my perspective. Like it's always felt like if you have the right cards for the blue red Delver deck and you win game one, you can win game two or game three. But asking yourself to like win game two and game three relatively consistently, I think is hard on the turbo versions. I think on the tempo version, you can realistically win game two and game three with how much you're dedicating to it, right? Which is kind of the point of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's also been my feeling where I didn't even mind so much losing game one when I was on the tempo. I felt like exactly what you just said. It just feels like, I mean, obviously it's not like an 80-20 matchup or anything, but it is just like it's the best I've ever felt playing against Blue Red Tempo. Let's put it like that. And I would much rather play against Blue Red Tempo with Demir Doomsday Tempo than I would play against regular Demir Tempo, if that makes sense. Getting all the tempo decks in there, but I feel like playing against 4x Thoughtseize is a lot scarier, and at Bowmasters and stuff can be more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they also have Fatal Push too, so they just answer your Barragoyfs way cleaner. I think the matchups are a little funny because I think if Demir dips and you duck or whatever, or you both duck, I think if they match what you do well, you're in trouble.
Hmm.
If they don't match what you do well, like they have extra consigns when you pivot, then I think you're good. Or if they go completely wrong, then I think you're good. So I think like the matchup's okay, but if they guess pretty perfectly For example, I know that I've posted places. If I win game 1 with Doomsday, I'm boarding out of game Doomsday completely against Blue-Black game 2 on the draw, because asking to beat Thoughtseize plus Bowmasters on the draw is just a lot with Doomsday. But game 3, if I play a bunch of creatures and I lose game 2, I will go back to Doomsday sometimes game 3 on the play. And so I feel like if they only have 2 or less consigns in their deck post board when I'm on the play, I feel like you're doing okay. So I think it really depends on how well they understand what you're planning to do.
No, I agree. And that is something in general that I think is pretty interesting, and also something that doesn't always translate so easily to, like, say, a sideboard map where people just want to know, okay, so with this deck in this matchup, how many of what comes out and how many of what comes in. Where I think, like, sometimes there's a dance where, exactly like you just mentioned, if you, like, sometimes if I lose game 1 and I have a full pivot, I won't pivot at all, even if it's versus Tempo, where I feel like I'm probably supposed to, or it will increase my chances overall, or in the abstract. But just like, if you could get a hand that lets you resolve a turn 1 or turn 2 Doomsday, and they aren't maybe completely sure what they're up against, or they can't say that there's going to be creatures or there's going to be a lot of spell-based combo post board, I think then it's there's a lot of upside to that, and then then you go again and change for game number 3. So that's really interesting. The Simic Omnitel, I lost game 1 there, and I felt like I was probably going to get just my head stomped in all evening, but I ended up, I think, like, Carpet of Flowers really got to showcase how good it is in game number 2. And then game number 3 became a little bit weird, where you resolved an early Tameo, and it ended up, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll be interested to hear your perspective on that. But I was like, I could have gone off in a turn earlier, but then I would only have been able to force, and I would have to pitch both of my blue payoff cards. So I would have to then put in Emrakul, I think, just like a naked Emrakul. And then I think you would have, I guess you would have untapped with Tameo at 6 counters, so maybe it would have been fine. I forget, but how, that whole, like, situation, do you think you got a little bit sort of what's the word, got, like, Tameo blinders on in terms of, like, wanting to ultimate her, or did the game plan just not really align well to do other stuff?
So it's a little weird. My hand was actually another force and a dark ritual. And I just wasn't able to convert another blue card, and so I had 3 forces and a fawn. So I
Right.
was able to double, but I wasn't able to, like, I think what you saw in the matchup is I went for a Doomsday with Force of Will protection and then fawn. And you had double force for my Doomsday when I had force plus fawn. Or you had force plus veil. So you forced, I forced back, then you veiled me, and then my fawn was slightly behind because you made up on your veil interaction where I just lost 2 clean cards. So or plus the Dark Ritual Doomsday. So you only lost 2 cards, and I ended up losing 4 cards in that exchange.
Mm.
Because your veil converted. So I think that the matchup, I'm still happy to be on the Tempo Doomsday side of the matchup. I think sometimes you just have to be very careful how you play around Veil, because you do have other cards in the deck that are like pseudo air, right? Like I mentioned, I had a Dark Ritual and a Force of Will in my hand still. You have
Right.
like some pseudo air in the deck, and I think that if you're not careful when you decide to push, I think I might have been a little aggressive pushing with double force backup. I might have been supposed to just play it a little bit slower and wait for you to make the first move, or make a move where then I could pick up Doomsday again and just cast it again in the same turn with Tameo, to your point. Like, I think I just kind of got a little aggressive when I wasn't paying enough attention that 2 counters not only beats me, but also trades so far ahead on resources.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think I feel mostly the same, that, like, if you ask me ahead of time, I have no problem playing against show and tell. I think, honestly, and I would have to go and look at my results, sort of lifetime wise, but I do think that the show and tell deck I probably have lost more to than the other ones is Sneak and Show, because they just sometimes get to, they have, like, a creature, and then they have like 3 enabler spells, right? So they can just like go for 3 consecutive turns. They'll go like show and tell, you counter it, show and tell, you counter it, and then sneak attack, you can't counter it. That kind of thing. Where I feel like, yeah, sometimes you lose to Veil, like but you can usually, well, maybe you can't usually play around it, but you can at least see it, and so you know kind of what's going on. It's pretty rare that it like what they had Veil. I did not see that coming at all. You know, you usually see the green mana. You can kind of expect it.
There's also the Magus question sometimes, which can be a little awkward, and then there's also the Pyroblast question, which is kind of like Veil, except it also proactively answers some of your threats like Tameo or Murktide or something like that. So Pyroblast is kind of defensive and also it's also kind of proactive in like dealing with some of your threats, where Veil of Summer is only mostly like reactive in terms of trying to win a counter war. So I think Veil can be a little anemic and clumped in your hand, whereas Pyroblast or Red Blast just has a little bit more flexibility to how you can use it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's like the ceiling is higher with Veil, but the floor is lower, kind of thing. Um, that's how I see it, I think. And then we had, which was to my enjoyment, the last round. I was really pleased with how that played out. I also think I got a bit lucky in terms of the deck kind of spilled out just the side of the deck that I needed, which was like a creature threat and wastelands and counterspells. How did that play for you?
Yeah, it was tough because I opened the 4 mana, like the 2 lands I needed, and I opened double command and Force of Will. So it's like I didn't feel like I could throw it back, but it was like semi anemic and really susceptible to a wasteland.
Hmm.
I did get got by that daze. I thought that you would have dazed the command killing, or that you would have dazed the Force of Will countering the Brainstorm. Which the reason I got by it obviously was you had a second Brainstorm plus a daze, which kind of hid the fact that you had a daze in your hand. Because I think you would have traded a daze to flip it had you not had another Brainstorm. Am I right?
I think that's probably correct. And that was certainly what, in quotation marks, helped me not daze there was the fact that I felt like, okay, I mean, I can do this next turn and then I get to still have a daze. And I can't remember in what order things came, like when there was a wasteland involved here, but I just remember thinking this daze is probably going to be pretty good and it's probably going to find a target, like at a later point. And yeah, yeah. Also, like,
Well,
yeah, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so my thought was I greeted to get the extra card out of it because my hand was double command and then nothing else. So I really needed to convert those commands into threats and more mana just to like make sure that if you did have a wasteland that I actually had land drops. So that's why I played it into the days, and the days just obliterated me. The days plus the thought seize in the wasteland just I didn't have a chance.
Yeah, and it was interesting because in those 2 games, like I don't remember putting Doomsday on the stack or like the Doomsday even got involved. The first game was Tamio just riding riding into the sunset until she hit 8 counters, and then the second one was I think it was a Murktide that basically closed up what had turned out to be the sort of tempo textbook, just Thoughtseize, Wasteland Days, and then have a big threat. So I think for me it's pretty obvious that the tempo version of Doomsday, at least as things stand right now, has a lot more game versus that deck, like specifically. I don't know if your version plays Tishana's Tidebinder, but that card just gives me the creeps.
Yeah, the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
the other thing about it too is the Cloud Post deck, like the wastelands are just massive because their mana is so greedy. There, like you saw the second or the third game or the second game or whatever, where I had like Island, Cloud Post, something, and you wasteland once, and then I'm on 2 mana. I'm just like stuck on 2 mana, and you don't play cantrips like normal cantrips,
Mm.
so your mana base is like susceptible to you drawing out of it. And if there's a Tameo in play or something already, when you wasteland me, now I have to draw like perfect lands to like recover, and you're drawing more cards than me like at that point. So I think the wastelands are really what tip it over,
being very, very hard to interact with out of that deck. Even if it's Tameo into Wasteland something, or even I've played where it's like cantrip turn 1, turn 2 Doomsday plus Wasteland you, and that Wasteland's just enough to not get snowballed out of control.
Yeah, it's interesting. That deck, the blue Cloud Post deck or blue black Cloud Post deck, has gotten a lot of sort of quote unquote press. At least I've heard people talk about it quite a bit, but I've not played against it that much. And it is interesting now, getting more and more reps, that you sort of realize that because I think I had it lumped in with like Mystic Forge, but it was like a Mystic Forge deck that plays Force of Will and Tishana's Tidebinder and stock up. But that doesn't really look at what it's then not playing, right? And one thing it's not playing is all the keys in Grim Monolith. So it's like
Yep.
the deck almost. I mean, you can correct me here, but I don't think there really are very many turn one plays out of that deck, right? It's like turn two have 4 mana is the ideal, but that always starts with turn one having, well, 2 mana at most, and probably just one.
Yeah, you have Ancient Tomb Chalice or Ancient Tomb Flute are the only two. Some play flutes, some play chalices, but that's the only real turn one play that you can have. And you even saw my mana was so pressured that it was like it was obvious that you were playing the Murktide when you played the Dark Ritual and whatever into Chalice, but the flute just got dazed because my mana was such in shambles after you wastelanded me once. Which just made it so I couldn't even delay the Murktide like a couple of turns, which, yeah, obviously that card just killed me.
Yeah, for sure. But it is just, I think like someone was saying that that deck, the Cloud Post deck, if it just gets to develop its mana, then it probably has the best sort of end game or long game of I have all damn near any legacy deck. You don't want to play like 5 or 10 turns versus that deck with with it just getting its mana under it. But
Yeah, their mana is
yeah.
also just not really susceptible to null rods or anything like that, right? Like,
Mm.
and the only things that it cares about truly are Wasteland. I'm actually surprised that there's not more like needle effects or something in there to protect against Wastelands, which might be why they are going to flutes instead of chalices. I could see using flutes proactively to protect against Wasteland as well being maybe part solution to some of those problems, but I don't know.
No, that's a good point. That is sort of Cloud Post. Like right out of page one of the cloud, like the old Cloud Post textbook, right?
They
12.
played 4 needles or whatever for Wasteland.
Yeah, exactly. Because they just wanted to play against control decks and never get wastelanded, and then basically no one could keep up because they were like hard casting Emrakul on like turn 5. But yeah, no, that was pretty sweet. I was really and I have like the few times I've faced it with Tempo Doomsday, I have won so far, so I do feel somewhat fine about that, and yeah. But Michael, thanks so much for being a good sport and playing and showcasing, and it was funny. Like I think like our Demir lists are slightly different. I really want to try the one you just played today because I noticed you had 2 Street Wraiths. I only played one. I wonder, do you play more than one Thassa? You had one time when you made a pile that had where Thassa was. Well, you put Thassa on, but you had one card left in the deck. I was wondering if there was like a second Thassa hiding there as the final card.
Yeah, so my current list has 2 Thassas. I just found that the problem with one Thassa in Tempo is quite often the Thassa is the worst card in the hand to pitch to Force of Will or other things like that, to where it feels like you're forced into making bad plays if you have any thought that you're going to resolve Doomsday at some point. Like, proactively cantripping to get rid of the Oracle or not pitch it to Force of Will when you would rather pitch it to Force of Will. So to me, it's less of the pile restrictions and it's more of the necessary evil, and I can get away with using it in piles and stuff to a lesser degree, that I have the second Oracle in there. And then really the only difference besides that for you and me is I have the fourth Wasteland in the sideboard for specifically the post and the Post and the Mystic Forge and those sort of decks, and then just the Urza Sagas decks in general. And then
our creature suite is different. I have the same creature suite that I was playing prior, which is 2 Bowmasters, 2 Murktide Regents, and then the 4 Tamios main, and then all 4 Barrowgoyfs are in the sideboard. And I just have found that I like the Murktides individually to finish a game because the ground gets bogged up sometimes if you resolve a late Barrowgoyf. Whereas if you resolve a late 8/8 Murktide, the best thing they can have is another 8/8 Murktide. And you have ways to grow your Murktide as well with your Tamios, which some of the blue-red decks don't play Tamio, Doomsday, etc. So I feel like I just have more ability to consistently end the game with Murktide's main, and then Barrowgoyfs, and then the Bowmasters I just like for helping protect me kind of mid-game if I cast a Doomsday after like turn 2 or 3. I feel like they do a good job of both helping prevent opponents from digging for stuff, and then they also just help buffer my life a little bit after I'm resolving Doomsday to not die.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I think like initially I was doing so well with the list that I was hesitant to really like tinker with it. The reason I think I looked at it more as a 75 than as a 60, and I wanted 4 Barrowgoyfs. I knew that, and then I just thought, well, I mean, Barrowgoyf. I mean, it does come up that it is very relevant in game ones sometimes. It also, I think that what moved the needle for me was that it is something else to do with your dark ritual, like early in the game. Sometimes a deck will have a hard time answering a turn one Barrowgoyf, but I can see the point with Murktide, and I am very interested in giving your list a try. I am a little bit unsure about the second Oracle, mostly like it hasn't come up for me very often where I have really been where it's just been a problem, I guess. And I think the thing is, if you end up having to pitch Thassa to your force, then your deck can't just try and win without putting Doomsday on the stack, if that makes sense. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's less flexible, but I don't know. It's just like there's something interesting to hear you say that oftentimes Thassa is the weakest card, so you're playing a set like an extra copy of it. If that if that makes sense. I don't
It's the
know.
weakest card in your hand sometimes, I guess, is my point. So it's like if I have the one Thassa in my hand, I don't want like I wanna pitch it, or I don't wanna feel like I have to find a way to get rid of it, I guess. Whereas like if you have 2, then it's a lot safer. Especially post board where you have 6 forces and stuff like that. But I did try an Unearth instead of the second Thassa because it works well with Barrowgoyf and Tamio and everything.
Mm.
And that may be a solution. Like I will be honest when I say I haven't like sat down and actually thought out well enough to know whether I think second Thoracle's necessary. It just felt like I was getting into quite a few spots where I wanted it, and that's when I made the change, kind of like the opposite of what you're saying. And I think that like an Unearth or something could be a happy medium where it's really good if the blue red Delver player does have the Unholy Heat that you can then just pick up the Barrowgoyf again or something like that. It feels like a really relevant card that can also kind of double down as a second Thoracle in some spots.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I was actually playing an Unearth in this list. I added it like yesterday, I think, or the day before, and I'm just like I played one league match, so I haven't really tested it properly. But or maybe I played it in the challenge last week. Now I'm last weekend. Now I'm getting things mixed up here. But I do like that Unearth. Well, you know, it doesn't really change the fact that you know if you're stuck with your one Thassa as your only blue card, and aside from Force of Will, then it Unearth doesn't really help you there, but it does help you give you a little bit of flexibility versus stuff like Disruptor Flute or whatever. And then it is just also, like you said, it functions well with Barrowgoyf. It functions well with Tamio. It's just like if you're up, if you just like play out your Tamio and it gets bolted or pushed, and then you have like Unearth, that's pretty nice. But yeah, so one last thing I wanted to run by you before closing down here is that something that has been on my mind with regards to this Tempo Doomsday deck, is that I am slightly concerned if like or at least semi-real control comes back. Like the few times where I've been paired up against some sort of 4-color Bant deck, it has been a little tricky, and I like Jeskai control stuff like that. I've not even played against it because no one is playing it, or at least I haven't run into it. But I do wonder if like how we would set up or do against that kind of deck. Do you have any like what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, so I played it in. I want to say I've maybe played like. I play quite a bit. I think I might have played like maybe 200 matches with this deck so far, like some configuration of it. And I've ran into I think the most common one I've ran into is like the Felia blue white like blink deck,
Mm.
right? Like blue white blink control deck. I've also played against wizards a bit. I haven't played against a bunch of Beanstalk. I think more Bowmasters and I think more Thought Seizes are the way that you try and manage those matchups. But ultimately, I want to be on Doomsday because I just don't think that you're going to grind out value with your threats, especially when you're trading like Ritual plus Barrogoy for an answer, or you're trading like multiple spells to brew up a Murktide Regent or something like that. I feel like a lot of the time you're just trading down on your actual resources. So I much prefer to play Doomsday in the control matchups, which I'm assuming you do as well. And to me, the easiest way to kind of build that in would be additional thought seizes that help me after I resolve a Doomsday make a little bit slower, more robust pile, or Bowmasters, which put me into a situation where I can kind of like aggressively put Bowmasters in play, and then when I do finally resolve a Doomsday, it's a lot harder because they haven't been able to sculpt or get what they need to interact with me as well.
Yeah, I can see that because my feeling is that it can be tricky if we're too slow, and post board they can have so many answers. They can have your dress downs, your consign to memories, your pyroblasts, stuff like that. And I think, yeah, Thoughtseize is definitely a good card there, but it has to. I think I like it in conjunction with Bowmasters, like you say, where you're kind of, first of all, with Bowmasters, you're making them care about Bowmasters. You're making them have to make game choices that are about removing Bowmasters or playing around it rather than about like accruing resources for like beating a Doomsday.
Yeah.
But because if you don't, then it's like if you're making a quote unquote robust pile where you need to draw like a lot of like several thought seizes, you're also giving them additional turns to like get their engines up and running, like resolve Beanstalk and whatever, like draw a couple of extra cards in those 2 or 3 turns you give them. And yeah, I don't know. I used to be a big proponent of Emrakul and Shelagile whenever like blue white X control is big. And I still feel that way, but obviously Consign to Memory also kind of like poops on that on the hideaway trigger. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and there's just so many consigns in the sideboards, but I do think that the to your point though, I do think that Bowmasters they don't cost a lot of resources to play either, right? Which is also nice. So I could see having a better split with the Bowmasters and just pressuring them a little bit better. I've also tried I don't know if you've tried any of the like hybrid lists where I've had 2 personal tutors in the main or the sideboard to speed you up. Um, I've tried 2 personal tutors main in the spot of like the Bowmasters where it's like 2 Murktides and then just 2 personal tutors. And I've tried 2 in the sideboard as like a against Mystic Forge and control and stuff like that where I want to speed up. I just bring in the 2 personal tutors and cut like 2 of the slower cards like Murktides that just get swords to plowshares or that don't finish the game versus Mystic Forge or something like that. So I've messed with that a little bit, but that's the only other angle I've ever tried to approach it with.
Yeah, no, I haven't really tried that. I think the Wonder Brew list that played Stifle and Bowmasters also played like 1 or 2 personal tutors. I think I tried it there, but that's like several years ago, and I haven't really given. Like, I think Personal Tutor is a card I sometimes have a hard time sort of judging. Like, on the one hand, you want Personal Tutor in every matchup because you always want to resolve Doomsday if that's what your primary game plan is. On the other hand, it's like it's also just a little bit I don't know, like
It's anemic. It's a
yeah,
card disadvantage.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, exactly. All right, Michael, thanks again so much. Before we finish, maybe you can let people know where they can find you and what what other stuff you do, and how they can reach out and join up.
Yeah, I'm a Eureka22422 underscore MTG on X, Blue Sky, and just Eureka22422 on Discord if you want to get a hold of me. I do Patreon content right now. I'm focusing it on this deck. And then the big one though for me is I do a weekly podcast with Romario and Jared called Legacy Small Talk, and we basically just shoot the shit and then we talk about Legacy. So the podcast episodes are anywhere from like an hour to 2 hours, and a third or half of it's just hanging out and chatting and having fun, and then the second part of it's talking about Legacy, the metagame, decks we're playing, etc. So it's a good time. We've grown quite a bit recently, and if you get a chance, give it a listen.
Yeah, I can definitely vouch for that, you guys. It's a great show. Michael, thanks so much, and yeah, this was amazing. All right, thanks everyone for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will be back with some more Legacy. Bye bye.